Hi, I'm Dr. Nick Neneman with Neneman Chiropractic Clinic, and thanks for joining us again for another week in our video blog series. This is the last week, the third week in our series on the nervous system, and today what we're going to focus on is the lumbar spine and the sacrum. The last 2 weeks we've talked about the cervical spine and the thoracic spine. Today we're going to go into the lumbar spine, and I think most people are familiar with the term lumbar. Lumbar vertebrae are the last 5 vertebrae in your spine. In some people you do see that they have an extra lumbar vertebra, an L6, but typically people are going to have 5 lumbar vertebrae. Those lumbar vertebrae start right below the thoracic, basically right below the rib cage. And starting from the top going down, you have L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. And then right below L5 is your tailbone, which is also known as the sacrum. Starting from the top of the lumbar spine, last week I did talk about the large intestine, and I talked about how it has some innervation from the lower thoracic. Well, it also has some innervation from the upper lumbar as well. As I mentioned, the large intestine, its main purpose is to absorb water from indigestible material. But the large intestine has some innervation, its nerve supply coming from the L1 through the L3 nerve levels, as well as the lower thoracic, like I mentioned last week. And then also down in this area, we have the uterus, which I also mentioned last week. It has some innervation from the lower thoracic spine, but it as well has some nerve supply coming from the L1 through the L3 vertebra as well. And like I mentioned, most people know that the uterus is involved in reproductive functions in the woman. Down in this area we have the bladder. I think everyone knows what the urinary bladder is. Its main function is to store urine before we excrete it. But the bladder has nerve supply from L2, L3 all the way down to the sacrum or the tailbone as well. Then you get down into the reproductive organs. In the man you have the prostate. That has a nerve supply from L3, L4, L5 into the sacrum as well. And then the actual reproductive organs in men and women, they also have nerve supply from L3, L4, L5 down through the sacrum, the tailbone. And so, that pretty much covers, the organs involved in the lumbar and the sacrum. That again, these organs, their nerve supply comes from the spinal nerves in these areas of the spine. Like I've mentioned the past few weeks, by getting adjusted in your lumbar and your sacrum, you may notice that those organs that I just went over, you may notice that they seem to function better, or that you just feel better, from getting adjusted and making sure that those nerves down in those areas are functioning at 100% or near 100% level. So, pretty short this week. That wraps up our series on the nervous system. I hope it was very informative to you. I know I've gotten some really good feedback. I have patients that have really liked these video blogs on the nervous system. I've had people tell me, I didn't realize, when you're adjusting my spine, I don't actually sit and think about how, wow, those nerves in those areas do go to these organs. I don't even put the two together. And so that's the exact reason why I wanted to do this blog, is to emphasize to people, that no, these organs do have function because of from the nerves coming from the spine. So, thanks for joining us again this week. Join us back next week. We'll have a new topic for you, which will be something that's interesting, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So have a great rest of the week, and tune in next week.